But one thing that you'll see a lot of is, because the sand is so soft, grounding your club in the right spot and using some of the bounce on the club is going to be super duper imperative. There's not really any getting around that. That's part of the reason that a lot of people are scared of bunker play compared to like the same shot in the grass, where it's, if you practice bunkers a little bit, it's not that much different, other than the fact that your room for error is a lot smaller in the bunker, just because the sand is so soft and the club just goes right underneath it. But one thing I would really want to talk about and think about the whole time we're doing this is, when we were talking about hitting chip shots, remember we had the ball back and our hands forward, and we didn't want that club to pass through. We wanted to kind of hold our hands out ahead of the club the whole time to get it to run. In a bunker shot, I want to do kind of the exact opposite, and this is similar to if we're hitting it high in the air with on grass too, where instead of that club kind of, the handle leading the way the whole time, what that basically does, if you do that in the bunker, is this leading edge is getting in the way, and the leading edge, because it's so sharp, is going to dig in the sand, and you're probably going to chunk it a lot. So if we can get this handle to kind of be stationary in the middle of our body and let that club pass through, we got a lot better chance to use the bounce of our club, which is the next topic. Me and Bruce were talking about this a little bit. You guys understand what the bounce of the club does, or what it is? You've heard of bounce of the club, right?
Yeah.
And do you know how do you get the bounce on the club?
Yeah.
The bounce of the club is, every time you set this thing on the ground, there's always a little bit of a gap right below the leading edge. If you have a lot of bounce, there's more of a gap because there's more mass back here on the back part of the heel. And basically what that does, that angle that it creates, helps the club either dig or, like what it's called, bounce, or bounce off the ground. So if you're playing in super firm, tight conditions, if you have something with a lot of bounce, it's going to be hard to make a divot for one. And if you do make a divot or you hit behind the ball, it's going to bounce off the ground, and it's going to you're probably going to skull it over the green. A lot of times bounce is, if you analyze your divots, not only like with your pitch shots, but your chip shots too, if you're a digger guy, you probably want more bounce, because more bounce is going to allow you to not dig so deep. If you don't take a whole lot of divots like what we were talking about on the range, you probably want something with low bounce so that leading edge is a little sharper and a little closer to ground to help you dig. So if we're in the sand where it's so soft, what do you think we probably ought to be using as far as bounce?
A lot more.
More bounce. Because if we do have, and bounce is, it's one of those things where a lot of people don't know what it is, and it doesn't have as big of an impact for a mid to high handicap guy as it does for a low handicap guy or a tour pro, just because no one really knows what the hell it is. But how it will react in the sand versus the grass is, if you have a sharp, the edge is closer to the ground and there's not as much bounce, you're probably going to dig in the sand deeper, and it's going to chunk up a lot of the time. That's why they always say to use a club with a lot of bounce out of the sand, so that you don't get quite as much dig.